Now this is a story all about how my life got turned upside down, and I like to take a minute, just sit right there. I tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. Okay, yeah, scratch that. Why was so lame? What's up, y'all? It's Sam, and welcome to my Sam Talks. Today I actually want to talk about my coming out story. Hopefully it can touch somebody and give them the courage to come out if you have none. I've been out of the closet since, well, let's start from the beginning, shall we? Okay, as y'all know, I'm from the Midwest, born and raised, Genesee County, Michigan, and then later on moved into Detroit. So where I'm from, it's a pretty big city, about the size of Stone Mountain in Atlanta, about the size of San Bernardino in California, about the size of Tampa Bay in Florida. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. My parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and technically I am disassociated. I've never been formally disfellowshipped, which is the word for it. And for those who don't know what being a Jehovah's Witness is, well, let me tell you. It's a Christian religion, very Christian, or Orthodox. So it's Orthodox Christian. Pretty strict growing up. It's less strict now. They've become more modern than they used to be. But back then it was pretty hard. Let me explain. So, first time I knew I liked girls. Okay, so I grew up in the era where Ellen hadn't even came out yet. Okay, so that was another 3-4 years into the future. And here I am. I believe the first time I knew I liked a girl, I was in 5th grade. It was a girl named Becky. She's a white girl. And I believe her name was Rebecca. She was my first crush, Rebecca. And I happened to go to a sleepover with my then best friend, Brittany. And Brittany had a mixed household. So her mom was white, dad was black. And the area that we lived in, the area that I grew up in, was mixed race. So it was white people, it was Jews, it was blacks, it was everybody. Okay. When I got to the sleepover, I told one of my friends that I liked the girl in class. I said, I think I might like girls. I think I might be bisexual. My best friend at the time went and told her mom. Her parents told my parents. All of a sudden, I couldn't come to any more sleepovers. I didn't know it back then. I knew as an adult, but now I know why I couldn't come to any sleepovers, And it just went from there. So being a daddy's girl, up under my father I'm a daddy's girl still to this day. I love my dad, and I've always been up under him. He never had boys, so I was the closest thing to his son. I'm the oldest. So he took me under his wing. I had some health conditions when I was born, so it made him even more to take me under his wing, and be like a little mini him almost. Matter of fact, growing up, my nickname was Lil Kenny, you know what I'm saying, because I was so much like him, you know what I mean? And still to this day, I'm probably a lot like my father. I've been trying to break some of his habits because he's old school, and you have to bring that into the modern day. But I still have traits of my father, you know. And so when I wasn't at the hall, the Kingdom Hall, I would dress in boys' clothes, or at least what I could get close to boys' clothes. I love Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know. Uh, I mean, you know, I love Will Smith back then. And even further proof of how I knew I was gay was I had a crush on Hillary Banks. And I used to be like, wow, she's so pretty. You know, if I could be like Will, you know, maybe I get a girl like Hillary, you know. And then as I got older, started dressing more boyish. I wore vests to school. I wore, you know, loose pants, jogging pants, always wore some type of sweat outfit, you know, to look boyish. And thank God I grew up in the 90s, so the boyish look was in style. You know, everybody dressed like Aaliyah, everybody dressed like Missy Elliott, everybody dressed like Queen Latifah. Like, it was like, that was the height of living single, you know what I mean? So it was cool to dress like that so I could fit in and kind of, you know, be smooth about how I dressed. And the girls really didn't talk to me like that. I didn't have too many female friends back then, unless they went to the hall. And, you know, everybody would say, oh, you're just a tomboy, aren't you? You're just a tomboy, aren't you? You're just a tomboy, aren't you? Well, this tomboy became a full-on stud, okay? So what ended up happening was some years go by and I'm still trying to figure out things. I had boyfriends, you know, guys didn't really, they liked me, but they were like, you know, something's different about you, you know, you're not as receptive to me as a guy, you know. And then I had a sexual experience with a boy very early in life. I think I was in pre-K. I don't think my parents know about this. They will if they see this video, but I had a sexual experience really early. It was about pre-K and like Bible camp or something like that. And then I had an incident again in the 3rd grade where it was sexual with the boy. And, you know, he wanted me to grab his thing. And so I did it. I didn't want to, but he did it and I got in trouble. Got my ass whooped. I mean, I still remember that note to this day. It said, I'll give you some dick if you give me some pussy. At 3rd grade, okay? His name was Deontay. I still remember that fucking nigga. Got my ass whooped. The only ass whooping I ever got in my life. This nigga gave, I got it because of you, motherfucker. So just so you know, I got my ass whooped because of that 3rd grade. I'm still mad about that. But, so fast forward. And, you know, I'm trying to date boys and I'm trying to, you know, I'm like, okay, he's kind of cute. But every boy that I liked was very feminine. And they weren't really masculine for boys, you know. And then turn around, you know, and it's middle school time. And it's time for us to move from Flint to Detroit. And my dad, you know, we moved from middle class to upper middle class, you know, to like right up under, you know, being wealthy. You know, my dad was making stupid money. It was unheard of back then, the money that he was making, doing what he was doing. He was the only, you know, black guy doing what he was doing in that area. And one thing about my family, they believe in reputation. So reputation was everything. It still is. Even now, our reputations reflect on our parents. Even now, it's we have to maintain a certain perception of ourselves to the outside world. And it's ingrained in us, even to me and my sister. We can't get out of it, you know? And I still think that's a good thing, you know? So always being in dresses, going to the Kingdom home, you know, having friends and kind of being isolated because people are like, you're not a normal girl, you're a tomboy. I wanted to hang out with the boys. I wanted to play basketball. I played basketball with the boys. My first kiss was a boy. And I think I was maybe, what, 5th, 6th grade? It was the other boy in the street. Name was Marcus. Marcus was my first kiss. To this day. I actually ran into him a long time ago. I was like, motherfucker, is that you? I can't believe I recognized him. You know, as a kid, it was crazy. And turn around and we move, and my best friend, I'm not gonna put her name in it, but another best friend at the time, you know, I told her, you know, she came over for a sleepover to our new place in Detroit. And I told her how I was feeling. You know, I told her I think I'm gay. You know, at my new school, it's studs there. Like, it's other tomboys there. I'm not the only one, and they got girlfriends, you know. I'm like, I can be who I want to be out here in Detroit. You know, I couldn't do it in Flint, you know. And she kind of took advantage of me, you know. We were watching The Lion King, and we were just laying on the couch, and she kept, you know, messing with me or whatever. And then we ended up, you know, kissing in the living room, and, you know, feeling around and stuff, doing what teenagers do. I was 13 at the time. I think she was 14. And it was a lot. It caught me off guard. I didn't like the fact that she was forceful with me, because I was like, you know, I ain't really asked for that. You know, you heard that I had these feelings, and then you took it upon yourself to act on them toward me when I didn't ask of that from you. You know, was I violated? Absolutely. I mean, it is what it is. You know, she did not have permission to do what she did back then. It was, I guess you could call it exploring, experimenting. But needless to say, it took me almost 10 years to talk to her. And still to this day, I don't really talk to her like that. She's on my Facebook with the rest of them people from the Kingdom Hall, you know. And after it happened, I wrote it in my journal, threw away the pages, put it in my trash can in my room. And she told her mom. And when she told her mom, she blamed it on me. She said I forced her. No more sleepovers. No more friends. And the whole time, the person that I had a crush on, I was in love with this girl named Cassandra. It took me years to get over her, you know. So each time, I'm being betrayed by my best friends at this point. And my dad found my diary, the pages that I ripped out. Now, my father is, at this point, strict Jehovah's Witness. And when I say strict, I mean strict. Okay. This is before my sister got her different parents. This is the parents that I got. Super strict. Super conservative. When they would see Ellen, and when Ellen came out the closet, they cut the TV off. If a gay person came on screen, cut the TV off. Change the channel. We not watching that tonight. And then Ellen came out the closet, you know. And it changed things for me. You know, it let me know that it was starting to become acceptable to be out and to be open. So I embraced it, you know. And I was in love with Cassandra. At the time, she was my biggest crush. Everybody will tell you that, especially my best friend, Sophia. And I also had a crush on Amanda on the basketball team. Southfield High Blue Jays. What are the Blue Jays? Southfield Blue Jays? Yeah, I think I still have my ID badge in there. I don't destroy shit. Like, I keep really good memorabilia and documents and shit. So, typical Scorpio. Like, I keep everything. So, y'all better listen. You know what? Let me not even say that. Let me. That is a whole nother video for another time. Let me not fucking say that. But anyway. So, now I'm in this new city. I found this girl that I like. And I'm playing basketball. And I'm on the junior varsity team. And as a small forward. Okay, because I wasn't tall, but I could shoot. And I could post up, you know what I'm saying? And I can, you know, when picking rolls, I did the good roll. You know what I'm saying? I could roll, you know what I'm saying, on the picks. So, I mean, I could pick and they could roll. So, you know, yeah. So, you know, it worked out. And I had a crush on Amanda. Now, Amanda was kind of the first real stud that I came in contact with. I was about 13, 14 years old. And I was like, wow, you know, girls liked her, you know. She played basketball. She had the new jehovahs. She had back then Jordan. She had the Iversons. Like, back then Iverson was big. So she had the Grant Hill. She was a sneakerhead. And I was so confused because I'm like, okay, I like her and I like Cassandra, but this basketball player, she would never see me because I dress like she dressed. And that's not right. That's not right. It's supposed to be me dressed like this and then a woman just like Cassandra. That's what I'm thinking at 13, right? So I'm thinking, well, how am I ever going to find a girl when I don't dress as masculine as Amanda and I'm not as feminine as Cassandra, but I like both of them. And come to find out years later, Cassandra liked me too. I just should have said something, which translates on today, you know, let's get back on topic. When my dad found out what was in that diary, I think he called me everything but a child of God. Of course, typical questions. Who did this to you? Did you molest your sister? Are you watching porn? Did someone molest you? The whole time, this motherfucker got 3 gay brothers and 4 bisexual sisters. Everybody gay on his side, okay? And he wondered where I got it from. Okay? This nigga had a gay roommate named John, and you asking me why I'm gay. I must have cried so hard that day, and my mom, she just sat there and held me. She was like, you know, just stop. She was like, can you stop being that way? And I'm like, how am I supposed to stop this? I'll try for y'all. And then from then on, I pretty much had no other help in this world. I was pretty much on my own. And then to hide from the embarrassment of everybody finding out that I was gay, because the boy at school that wanted to date me, he told everybody at the hall that, hey, Sam has a girlfriend at school. She's gay. Once that got around, thank you for that, Jeremy. Once that got around, and by the way, I had a crush on your sister Shamia, fine ass. But once that got around, my parents just up and left. And to this day, they'll tell you it was to get me into Clark, Atlanta, but I was only 14 years old. I was 4 years away from graduating. I mean, well, 3 years from graduating. I went to school. They'll tell you it was due to my mom's health. But the heat actually makes her health worse. Yeah. So I don't know where I'm uprooted from everything that I know. So on top of always moving around a lot, I had to deal with my sexuality. And hoping that even though I know I'm not going to grow out of this, I'm preparing for a life alone, because I'm like, it's not accepted in the world. You know, this is the 90s. It was don't ask, don't tell. I couldn't be in the military. I wanted to be in the military, but I couldn't be because I'm visibly gay. And then to be whisked down to Atlanta. And as God would have it, the first weekend we came to Atlanta was Pride weekend, because my parents wanted to get us down here before school started for 10th grade year. And I got in the gym. No. We came down here that weekend. Happened to be Pride weekend. My dad wanted to look at tourist spots. Now, in Michigan, we're used to the Dearborn Mall, Troy Mall. So we heard about Lenox. Okay. We walk in the Lenox Mall, and there's gay men everywhere. Gay women everywhere. Just gay as fuck. It's gayed out at Lenox. And my dad is like, oh my God. I brought you to Sodom and Gomorrah. And I said, what's even more funny about that is that this was on you. I said, you could have just kept me in Detroit. Brought me down to Atlanta. First week of high school in Atlanta. Sitting right there in gym class. I met Vanessa and Frank. Frank is gay. Always been gay. And Vanessa, I ended up being with Vanessa, I think, for the entire 3 years that I went to school, and I don't think anybody knew about it. Her mom was very homophobic, so whenever I came over, I always had to sit outside on the porch. And with good reason, because every time I came inside, I was playing with that little, yeah. But, yes, scratch that. So, in school, my parents are like, okay, once I get to the New Kingdom Hall, they're like, okay, we're not going to do this gay shit here. Get you a boyfriend. So I did. I got me a boyfriend. I had several of them at the hall. And then a situation happened that kind of changed me for the rest of my life. Protecting someone else in the Kingdom Hall from a predator. And to this person, I want to look dead in the camera. To WM, because I don't want to say your name. I will see you again. I will. I'm just going to say that. I will see you again. Okay? And when that day comes, you're going to know what day it is. I promise you that. And so I was protecting someone from a predator. And this person threw me under the bus. And mind you, this person I was also working for. And at a time where I was taking care of the family due to unforeseen circumstances, I was paying the phone bill for everybody. I was paying the car note for everybody. I had my own car at 17 years old because I had graduated high school. And this is right before I was paralyzed for the summer. So, no, right after I was, no, yeah, right before I was paralyzed for the summer. So this happened and I was thrown under the bus. Well, you can't blame me for this when I have proof that Sam is gay. And there was proof. There's other people from the Kingdom Hall, other guys that said, yeah, we've seen Sam with girls. Girls come up to the job. And at the time, the girl that I was seeing, we weren't official, but the friends with benefits that I had was Joanne and AJ. They ended up telling the elders about it. So they, being that my father was an elder back then, he was a high-ranking elder. So me and my sister kind of had status within the congregation. And they were constantly trying to find something to knock my father down, kind of knock him off his high horse because people loved him so much. And when this came out about me, it was the buzz of the Kingdom Hall. And everybody threw me under the bus. The person threw me under the bus, said it was my fault. The predator turned everything on me. My parents left me hanging. I sat in that room by myself. Judged as a sinner when somebody else was a predator. I'm a hero, but in this equation, I'm the sinner. No sin is greater than the other. That's what the Bible says. But in this case, it was. Because why? According to Jehovah's Witnesses, you can cure everything but homosexuality. Okay. Can't cure that other thing either. That man is still a predator to this day. And even worse. One of the most disgusting people you ever meet. Just a demon, if I could put it just plainly. He's just a demon. He can't even help it. It's just natural, just a predator. And I took the public fall for it. And then after this, maybe about 17 years old, 18 years old, 17 years old, I'm doing all this for my family. I'm the only one working at the time. And then turn around, I'm getting thrown under the bus. So I'm like, okay, as soon as I turn 18, I'm out this bitch. But I had a long time to go before I was 18. And I was paralyzed for a couple months. I couldn't move. I couldn't barely breathe. I went to my then boyfriend's house for a graduation party. D. What's up, D? He still calls me every 6 months. Are you still gay? Yes, nigga. I'm glad he actually didn't call this year, so you know, maybe he got a wife. I hope he did. He's a great guy. Pisces. And I ended up falling on some wet leaves on some stairs and I ended up paralyzed. And me and him ended up breaking up not too much long later after that. You know, he was like, you don't want to do nothing. You don't want to kiss. You don't want to do, you know, you don't want to touch. You don't want to. I'm like, bro, I know you know I'm gay. What is we doing here? You just supposed to be my beard and you can't even do that. Needless to say, he got kicked to the curb. And then shortly after that, D was also working with my dad on some music. So then that's how I meet one of my best friends, Tim. My dad, I was working with him to find new talent. And so we go and we meet these 4 guys with D. D's managing them. And one of they're like brothers, and they can sing like, my dad is like, okay, after we leave, he's like, you seem to hit it off with the guys. Anyone that you like? I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, well, I told one of them that, he could take you on a date, and I'll get you condoms. I get you everything, You are just welcome to have sex. And I'm like, it's not going to happen, but thank you, Pop. I appreciate it. And as long as I was in the house, as long as I lived in the house, I had to have a boyfriend. I had to. It was a requirement. And so soon I turned 18. And I felt like because I was paying the bills at the time, that I could leave at 18. Like, I could do bad by myself, And on January 4th, I'll never forget January 1st, I'll never forget the day. I had just been broken up with by my girlfriend, Keita. We just broke up. She dumped me on Christmas Eve at the mall. And about a week later, I ended up on the phone with my now ex-wife, Christina. And she wanted me to come downtown 5 Points to see the ball drop. But I'm 18 at the time, and I'm not gonna do that. I never been out, by myself, just driving to a big event like that. So I was pretty sheltered at the time, and me and my mom would get into it. Like, I'm not gonna ever say my mom was abusive, but we weren't exactly cool, So me and my mom got into it one more time. And on January 4th, I left, and I never came back. That was the worst decision I've ever made. Trying to save myself, but also playing Captain Save-A-Hoe to somebody else who created the problem. From then on, my family was just like, you don't get any help from us. And even to this day, if I needed a place to stay, if I had to, and transition that to when I was getting married, my mom doesn't believe in gay marriage, so she said she wasn't coming to the wedding, and my ex-wife disinvited her from the wedding. Yeah, it was due to, timing and things like that, but my family didn't come to the wedding, but they did come to the reception and supported me, my father and my sister. But not my mother. She was uninvited. And her family didn't help us either. Her family didn't even say anything to me. Matter of fact, her family didn't talk to me or even say a word to me until we were together almost 5-6 years. I would just come to the house and they would just, have you ever been somewhere where somebody just blatantly ignores you? Yeah. I would literally go to Thanksgiving, Christmas, and nobody would say a word to me. But her grandma and her cousin and her sister. Her parents left us ass out, but was the first one with their hand out when we was making money. Same with mine. She had to deal with her own people. I had to deal with mine. And after all of that, even to this day, even after being out of that relationship, my family will still tell you my parents do not go for that gay shit. They don't. I can't stay at the house at 40 years old if I needed a place to stay and I had nothing. I could not be openly gay in the house. I couldn't have nobody over. And even the help I receive is marginal because I don't have kids and I'm not straight. So I don't need help. Everything that I go through is my karma for being gay. Because it's a sin. And whereas my father and my sister, they love me for me. My mother does too. They're all very supportive of me as an individual. My parents are very homophobic and will always be. Do they respect people and their sexuality? Yes. Of course they do. But even straight people have their opinions on what they want their kids to see, And so catching up to now, it is what it is. I'm pretty much on my own. Up to a certain point. I would literally have to be on the side of the road with my cat with $5 to my name to get help the way my sister gets help. And she knows it. My parents know it. They'll tell you that to your face. It's not a secret. It's not like I'm telling family business. This is some bold ass shit, okay? Yeah. Happy Pride Month. I still love women. I don't know if I found the love of my life yet. I don't think so, because she's not here. Will I get married again? Absolutely. And if I get married again, I want my parents to be there. That's important to me. That's why one of the reasons why I'm so afraid to have kids is because I want my parents to accept my children. From my wife, not from me. I don't know. It's a lot. But like I said, thanks for tuning in to my Sam Talks. This has been my coming out story. From the 80s to the 90s to today. I just encourage those who are afraid to be cut off financially from your parents. It's hard. It's definitely hard. It's definitely not a cakewalk. I know what it feels like to be alone and not have any help until you just can't fall any further. So I learned to stand on my own 2 feet, and sometimes you do too. So I know it's a lot of pressure on the studs to be feminine, and that's a video for another day. But be who you are. Even if nobody likes it, even if you have to stand alone, stand on your own 2 feet and stand strong. Don't let nobody make you feel like your decision is the wrong decision. Just because of somebody who you fucking. Because really, if we all just mind our own fucking business, who would give a damn about sexuality? About what I do in my bedroom?